shows you the whole human comedy. And Time can bring alive the drama of human endeavor for the rest of your family. Time kindles everyone's imagination, not just on news, but theater, science, art, movies, music, and not just with words. Time uses hundreds of photographers and over 500 journalists. How much do you think you'd have to pay all those people to come to your home to inform and delight you? How does 67 cents a week sound? That's your cost if you call this number. That's more than half off the cover price. You'll get 25 issues for $16.77, over twice as many than if you pay the cover price for all of them. You'll also get this Atlas of the Body free. It's a hardcover, full-color, 160-page book that guides you on a tour of the wonders of the human body and the mysteries of your mind. It shows you why you're left-handed or right-handed, why you have your particular interests and aptitudes, why you dream, how you think, why you love and hate. You can't buy it anywhere, but it's yours free with your paid subscription. So call 1-800-621-8200 toll-free. Get 25 issues of Time for $16.77, the basic subscription rate, more than half off the cover price, and get the Atlas of the Body free. But do it now. Time's price will probably never be this low again.
Federal aviation officials have their work cut out for them. They're trying to figure out why 3 U.S. airlines had landing gear trouble this weekend. A United Airlines jet was forced to land in Los Angeles today after being diverted from Las Vegas because of landing gear trouble. Similar landings occurred yesterday in New York and near Washington, D.C., but only here in New York, where the landing gear of an Eastern Airlines jet collapsed on touchdown, were there any injuries, and those, of course, were minor. Well, the last of the 22 freed hostages who were guests of the Waldorf Astoria for a 2-day bash here in the Big Apple have packed their bags and set out for home. And with them, they'll take indelible memories of what New York City can do when it decides to roll out its most expensive, glittery red carpet. But from London comes reports today that documents found by the militants who stormed our embassy in Tehran more than 14 months ago identifies 3 of those hostages as CIA employees. Published reports, quoting the Iranian militants, identified the 3 as Thomas Ahern, Malcolm Kelb, and William Doherty. None of them was available for comment. And President Reagan wants to be sure that none of our diplomats will ever be held hostage again. His advisor, Edwin Meese, said yesterday that from now on, if foreign countries cannot guarantee the safety of our embassies, then Reagan will pull our diplomats out of those countries. And he's added that Reagan is studying our ability to use force if an attack does take place. And the war of words is heating up between our country and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Communist Party newspaper Pravda today accused the Reagan administration of playing what it called dangerous games with its charges of Soviet involvement in world terrorism. The Soviets warned that U.S. policies are dangerous to peace. Well, these recent Soviet criticisms have been a backlash against statements made earlier in the week by the President and his Secretary of State, Alexander Haig. Both, of course, were extremely critical of Soviet foreign policies. And here with a commentary on the situation is Dr. Martin Aben.
The response in the Soviet Union to the charges by President Reagan and Secretary of State Haig that the Russians are engaged in fomenting international terrorism is a most interesting one. I quote from TASS News Agency, printed only yesterday. Revolutionary movements are generated by peoples struggling for independence and economic and social progress. These movements, say the Russians in their press, are not dependent upon the Soviet Union or the United States. And it is quite true, because in fact, terrorism is a matter of opinion. It has to do with what side you are on in any particular struggle in the world today. Think about what the United States would say if the Lithuanians or Ukrainians who are living under Russian occupation inside the Soviet Union rose up in armed resistance tomorrow. We would call those people certainly freedom fighters or nationalists, those engaged in a good and righteous struggle against a communist tyranny. The Russians would denounce such uprisings as pure terrorism and murderous banditry. We think of the IRA in Northern Ireland as bandits and as terrorists. I don't, because I believe that that struggle is a righteous one. I don't know what the Soviet Union's opinion is of that Irish struggle, but I do know that as you move from one part of the world to the next, you always have here a terminology applied to that particular movement which is directly related to the policy of the country involved.
And in Londonderry, Northern Ireland today, Catholics went on a rampage, hurling homemade firebombs and stones at police in a 3-hour street battle. It wasn't clear just what triggered the violence, but British troops had to move in to help the police break it up. Several rioters built barricades and then set them on fire. Also in Londonderry today, a march commemorating a very bloody moment in Irish Republican history.
The anniversary of Bloody Sunday remains one of the most potent dates in the Republican calendar. Between 3,000 and 4,000 people marched through the Cregan and the Bogside to lay wreaths near the place where 13 people were shot 9 years ago. But the bitterness of the crowd was more directed towards the continuing protests of Republican prisoners inside the H blocks. The government was accused of reneging on promises that had ended the hunger strike. The frustrations expressed reflected the debate that is now going on inside the movement as to whether to start another hunger strike. Afterwards, about 200 teenagers began stoning the troops, an almost ritual ending to these occasions. Later, a bus and a bread van were hijacked and set alight, the work of people mainly too young to recall the events of Bloody Sunday.
And still ahead of us when the 10 o'clock weekend news continues, we'll see why they've designated February as Black History Month, and Lynn White will be along with her weather forecast for the work week ahead.
You know what's best for your car.
Polyglycode.
But there's a shell game going on right now.
Polyrazzmatazz.
There are newcomers in the paint sealant and rust-proofing industry seeking to imitate polyglycode. Don't be confused or fooled by similar names.
Polyglycode.
To protect you and your car, call this toll-free 800 number for the nearest new car dealer who handles bona fide polyglycode products. Accept no substitutes. There's only one polyglycode. Call us now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the real world. Welcome to chaos. To confusion.
What?
To overwhelm. Luckily, there's the New York Times. The Times helps make order out of chaos. Turns overwhelm into just whelm. Because these times, it's not enough to know just the who, what, where, when, and how. These times demand you know the why. And that's why these times demand the Times.
Sears announces its big Monday, Tuesday big sale. You'll find great big savings on hundreds of items throughout the store. Every Craftsman power tool is on sale. Save $5 to $160. Save 40% on mattresses and box springs. And everything in the furniture department is on sale. Save on couches, chairs, tables, bedroom sets. Save on fashions, tools, furniture, appliances, and more. So think big. Come to the big Monday, Tuesday big sale at Sears.
Today's weather was pretty much a repeat of yesterday's. Classic examples, perhaps, of what weather experts might call the January thaw.